Okay, we're going to tie a gnarly fly for size 10 and smaller. I prefer the 𝗙𝗶𝗲𝗀 317 hooks, and this is a size 10. I usually start near the eye and make some wraps, take off the thread, and I just build up a prominent head. We won't be going back and retying at the head or whipping at the head at the end because we'll actually tie off at the thorax. Next, we'll add some wire. This is brassy weight wire, and then tie in our yarn. This is ruby yarn, and I like to tie it up near the head and then tie it back to the bend of the hook. Bring it back about 3/4 of the way along the shank towards the eye, and then put in a half hitch to hold it there. Next, we're going to wrap forward in sort of touching wraps up to the thread, and then just go right past it towards the head of the fly. Come back, make a couple wraps on either side of the thread, and then back down the body, and then back up to where the thread is. Do a little 𝗧𝗲𝗶𝗲 around the thread, and then tie it off. Wraps in front, wraps behind, and then cut that. Next is the wire. I almost always put a tag on the end of the flies as sort of a little hot spot, and then wrap the ribbing up towards the center again, a little 𝗧𝗲𝗶𝗲 around the wire, and then helicopter it off. It's a little bit thicker wire, so it takes a little bit more effort to helicopter off, just like that. And then I'll typically put a half hitch here. So this is the body of the gnarly fly. Now, as far as feathers, I like India hen backs. They're cheap. This is the hairline version, and this is a natural. And I will typically strip all the fluff back and then snip off this. Now, you can tie it in from the tip or the stem. I prefer to tie it in. For at least for gnarly flies, for sure, I tie them in from the stem. The nice thing about India handbacks is that they're terrible feathers, and they won't wrap perpendicular to the shank. In fact, the fibers rack parallel, and that's what you want. You want the feather to go flat, just like this, and around in front of your thread, and then behind your thread, and then again a little 𝗧𝗲𝗶𝗲, and it usually breaks your feather off, which is no problem because you've already secured it. And then I just wrap in front of the stem, which you can see is a white line, and behind the stem, and that gives you your legs of your gnarly fly. Now we're going to tie in the thorax. I like ice dub for most of my thoraxes. That's nice and shiny, and just pull out some, lick your finger and wet your thread, and then make your dubbing noodle on there. We'll need a little bit more. And it can be a fairly thick dubbing noodle. It doesn't have to be a thin one. Remember, this is a gnarly fly. It's supposed to look gnarly. And then wrap your thorax. And then I'll do a couple wraps there, and then whip finish the fly right in the middle. 3 wraps. And typically what I like to do is I'll also whip it again, but this time I'll put some dubbing on the whip finish to hide the thread. Just like that. And then snip that off. And separate your hen feathers, and that's really it right there. So, a maroon gnarly fly, and they are amazingly effective flies. They are remarkably durable, and I find it in my region, even at this large size 10, particularly on a fast-flowing freestone stream, they are extremely effective. So there you go. That's the maroon or ruby wool gnarly fly.